Despite all the negatives, Dave and Darwen FC are striving forward to help generate much needed income for the club.
Oh, it's been a nightmare. We've been talking and we're just trying to get some kind of a membership going where they pay into the members, but obviously we let them free through the turnstiles. As family packages, we're looking at things like that just to try and bring families down just for a day out and things like that, and getting them involved in the club. We've got a couple of lads in like who's come along. They're helping us. They're cleaning up. They're tidying. Bit of painting. Bit of pitch work. They're doing all sorts, and they are business people, and they're looking at now to be bringing sponsorship deals in and striking things like that. So we're moving forward as fighting forward, I'd say, more than just moving forward.
The recent difficulties felt by both the Salmoners and the local Crown Paint factory has meant the town of Darwen has fallen upon hard times. Sponsorship and commercial endorsement would help the club's financial worries, but Dave believes that if the club is to be successful in the long term, a solid base for youth development is what's needed to help both the club and the town's economy grow in the future.
I run a youth football club as well, obviously from kids from 5-year-old upwards, and obviously we've got reserves and men's team here, so we're hoping to link them both up and become like a community club, if you will, where everyone's involved. So if it goes to plan, it's going to be pretty good stuff for a football club. But we just keep going, we keep fighting back and keep going, and if it pays off, it's going to be good for this football club. It's something they've never had. You know what I mean? It just brings a lot of foundation to this football club if we can get the children here from a youth setup. We've talked to Dave Burgess as Dennis, and he's pretty up for it at LFA. Obviously, there's a lot of grants we can get with children being here, and we're looking down them lines. They're all for it, so we're going to go for Charchester Kite Mark at Dawn Football Club, and hopefully it all pays off. But it's just, we've got to get our hands on the club fully, full control.
With the Premier League and other top-level clubs spending millions on both commercial and player investments every year, low-league clubs are being forced to spend large amounts of money to keep up the same level of competition. This often results in clubs like Darwen FC facing a bleak future as the debts mount up. The Football Supporters Federation campaigned to help protect the rights and interests of fans within the game. I caught up with Stephen Powell, who is the Director of Policy and Campaigns for the organisation. He believes that there must be a cap on player spending in order to benefit all parties in the long term.
Well, semi-professional status, there are much stricter rules which they're applying very strictly, and that means that some of the mess that's been created by unsustainable spending, principally on player transfers and salaries, is starting to be sorted out. It sounds like this is very anti-player. It isn't. As I said, nobody cares if the great stars earn huge money. But you've got to start from a position, this is what we can afford to spend on player salaries. This is what we will spend. At the moment, clubs feel forced to spend money they haven't got on players because other clubs that they're competing with are, on using the sugar daddy model. Somebody comes in with a lot of money and spends a lot of money on players. We need to get to the situation where the clubs are only spending the money that they can generate. Of course they should be enterprising. Of course they should look to up their income. But they've got to look at a much better mix, and particularly once you get below the Championship, League 1, League 2, the Conference, most clubs have spaces available in the stands and on the terraces, and you've surely got to be better off having the full ground at lower ticket prices than a half-empty ground, and not generating the next generation of support.
Even though the commercial side to football has proven to be a strong aspect of modern-day football clubs, Stephen believes that none are more important than the primary concern of the fans.
More and more fans are starting to say, yes, we want to be successful, yes, we all want to have a serious chance of silverware at the end of the season, but we want our club to be successful, but sustainably successful. The caricature of a fan is somebody starts jumping up and down, screaming, sack the board, open the chequebook when things go wrong. More and more fans are coming to the opinion that that's not the way forward. The sort of sugar daddy model just doesn't work. And that a club should be that, a club, a joint enterprise, everybody in it together, fans, directors, players, coaches. Because the one constant of any professional football club, owners come and go, chairmen come and go, players come and go, managers come and go, is the fans.
But with the club's primary aim in recent years being that of making a substantial profit, will the voice of the fans ever be heard? In Stephen's opinion, it is in the hands of the regulatory bodies to do something about it.
The fact is that yes, football clubs in this country are limited companies, mainly private limited companies. Some are publicly limited companies with their shares traded on various markets. That's the wrong starting position. Clubs in this country ended up being limited companies by accident. if you look at the history of the game, the Football Supporters Federation and overwhelmingly supporters in the country are not interested in their clubs making profit. What they want them to do is to put a football team on the park at a decent price that they can afford and try for success, but that success has got to be sustainable. So yes, the Football Association, Premier League, Football Conference have got to get real and start regulating the game, because the amount of money that's being spent principally on wages is just unsustainable. No fan in this country cares what players earn. What they do care about is whether they can afford to go and whether there's competitive balance and whether they're being treated fairly. And the clubs are missing the target on all of those issues, and the leagues have got to get real, and so has the Football Association, and start regulating the game properly.
As the economic slump continues in Britain, people will be finding it more difficult to generate spare funds to go and support their local football teams on a Saturday afternoon. Does this mean that football clubs are going to suffer in the future with struggling levels of income? The answer is, most likely not. As long as there's continued interest from media and commercial companies, football will always find a way of generating money, and teams will continue spending as they go in search of greater success both on and off the field. Lower league clubs will continue to enter administration, as although the big teams prosper from sponsorship and television deals, it is the lower end of the spectrum, the grassroots level, where the recession will have its biggest effect. All we can hope for is that the credit crunch forces the return of football to a purely recreational activity, or the game could forever be lost as a business entity whose sole aim is to create continuous amounts of money for those at the highest level.
Money!